Hey y'all, happy Thursday. Welcome to another What Else is Going On, aka We Go podcast episode. I'm your girl, your host, Taria. I want to say hello. First of all, don't judge me, okay? I just came back from the gym. Y'all can see my background is different. I am on vacay with the hubby, the kids, and my parents, my two brothers, my sister-in-law, and my nephew. And I am getting back on track with the videos. I know this a little bit late. And get ready to give you your Potomac review. Then I'm gonna come back with your Married to Medicine review. Watch Salt Lake, do the Salt Lake review, and then I'm just gonna do a double recap for Beverly Hills because I know that comes on tonight. I hope y'all can hear me well and there is no echo. We get ready to get into it. So, this latest episode of Potomac, I don't think it was a filler, although I don't mind fillers because I feel like sometimes, like I can't have every episode out of 10 because my heart be like, this is too much. But let's get into Real Housewives of Potomac episode. I'm looking at episode what? Lord, I didn't put the episode number in. Either way, blunt truth. So we get ready to get into it. All right, first up, Wendy and Giselle, honey. So Giselle wants an electric G-Wagon. She gonna test it out. Wendy meet her there. There is a part of me that wonders if production told them to film together. Again, y'all, I just looked at myself on the camera. Y'all don't judge me. Oof, I just came back from we went to breakfast, did a quick gym workout. Before I hop in the shower, I wanted to do this video. But anyway, so Giselle and Wendy car shopping. So it's funny because when Wendy gets there, she is saying she's thinking about an electric car. She wants a G-Wagon as well. But she's like, it ain't going to be a Stacy situation. I'm going to let you know, Giselle. I ain't just going to show up with the same car, which makes you wonder. It's like in life, they make more than one thing because more than one person is going to want it, even if it's the same color, same model. It's not always I'm trying to be you, but it's like, oh, I really like this. But I can also see how it's like, let me let you know, girl, I'm probably going to get one too. I really like these. I don't want you to think I'm trying to be you, copy you, what have you, right? Because the thing will be like, oh, she's trying to be me or she wants what I want. Maybe she likes what you have, right? But so Wendy's like, it's not going to be a Stacy situation. So Giselle said, well, what do you think about Stacy and the gummies? And so Wendy said, sometimes people are inspired by you, but don't know how to tell you. So then they mimic you. I said, well, so Wendy said, basically she also called my stylist as well. I said, I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I kind of would be like, okay, girl, you couldn't have just said, hey, girl, I don't know. It could be seen a number of different ways, right? How would y'all feel if y'all's friend, and it was a new friend, started a business that's similar to yours, even though there's more than enough room in multiple business, right? But started, say y'all had a podcast, and so your friend started a pop culture podcast. For me, I wouldn't look at that like anything because a lot of people are doing it, right? I guess, but let's say yours was a Sister Wives podcast. So then I decided to start your friend decided to start a Sister Wives podcast. And your podcast was visual. So then your friend called your set designer to come design hers. Would y'all be like, friend, you could have said something to me, right? Anyway, so Wendy said, look, I don't think Stacy is a bad person to her core. Giselle said, well, child, you can have her. My issue with Giselle is, what is your issue with Stacy? Are your issues everybody else's issues? Because has she lied to you? Well, okay, maybe she did with starting the weed line, the edible line, right? But other than that, Wendy's let it go. Why are you continuing? But anyway, child, it's supposed to be a drive-by review. So Stacy says, Wendy said, but y'all just keep jumping on her. And Giselle said, but it's light, but it's valid. It may seem like that, but they're valid reasons. Her and Wendy get in to test drive the G-Wagon. They talk about Karen. Karen should be free, see us free. They talk about Monique coming back to the group. Wendy said, child, last time I seen her, she had a binder. And Giselle said, it's about accountability in this group. Come on. Let's be very clear. There are things Giselle has not taken accountability for in this group. But guess we turning over a new leaf, right? It's about accountability. Never held me accountable, but this is about accountability. Okay, it's a new season, it's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new light, and they feeling good taking accountability. All right. But she did say if Monique is going to be around, they need to clear the air. Child, the gentleman in the back said, uh-oh, I thought that was funny. Stacy and AJ. So Stacy and AJ, it looked like, was it a beer place? They go to a beer place. Y'all didn't know, but I had to pause you. I had to get some water. I felt like I was getting out of breath. Like I came from the gym to my brother's room to here to this. And I was like, Taria, get a sip of water and slow down. But anyway, Stacy and AJ, it looks like they went to a beer place. They cheers. I think Stacy ordered a German beer. They talked about the gummy brand and how it's debuting on June 19th, which is Juneteenth, right? Is it June 19th? I might have the date wrong. Don't take my black card. But it's debuting on Juneteenth. She says she's the first black woman in Virginia to have her own cannabis business. She is, and I'm not gonna lie, but there is a part of me that was like, Stacey, ain't there white folks behind this business? Okay, all right. So Stacy tells AJ how the girls in the group aren't as excited as she is. Basically, let me stop saying basically. This should be a celebration, right? First black woman in Virginia to have her own cannabis line. She's excited, but her friend group, well, she didn't say friend, the girls in the group that she's in, rather, are not excited. And she kind of has feelings about that. This is what she's telling AJ. She said there's a lot been going on in the group. So she sent them a text message inviting them to the launch. So it says, "Good morning, although we're not in the best place right now, as I launch my business on Thursday, making history as the first black woman with as the first black woman entrepreneur in the cannabis industry in Virginia. I want you to know that y'all are welcome. It'll be a Juneteenth celebration and perhaps an opportunity for us to move forward." I guess a lot of them ignored it. She said she didn't know who's coming because she's not on the best terms, but also people like to hate. I said, well, she then tells AJ, look, the ladies, it's always something. It's always something. First, it was they accused me of dating Chris, and now they're accusing me of calling Chris and trashing Monique. So AJ had a good question because she brought up Ashley was accusing her of this. AJ said, how would Ashley know all this? So Stacy said, because Kay or somebody else told her. AJ said, y'all is too grown for this. Y'all need to stop it. She then brings up how Tia tried to read her in her British accent and she starts imitating her. AJ said, check this out. You need to speak up. Stop playing it soft. You need to speak up and check these ladies, Stacy. I've known you long enough. I've seen you do it. Put your foot down. She said, I'm not a confrontational person. It's not her nature. But it is going to come to a point where enough is enough. Yeah, she's going to have to dig in that a little bit. So now Stacy's at work. I'm sorry, Tia's at work. She's talking to a gentleman. I didn't catch his name. She's at Sotheby's and is it Sotheby's or just Sotheby's? Anyway, she's telling him a lot of things are coming at her. At some point, they may need to develop her team because all these transactions. So the gentleman says, that's something that we can talk about and we can help you build this team. In her confessional, she says how her business acumen came late. She's a businesswoman now, but growing up, her father had all this money. She grew up living next to Boy George. She went to school with, did she say Sting or somebody famous kids? Money was just thrown at them. But then came the 80s and some of their family money went away with it. Her dad didn't know about business and investments and all that. And so that taught her something. He didn't know how to sustain the money. And that taught her a lesson. So she also talks about Stacy's invitation. She appreciated the invitation, but she needs to call Stacy because, again, they're not in the best place. We know Stacy lied about Timo leaving town, coming into town, going out of town, flying around the globe, been around the world, He couldn't make the dinner. And Tia felt a way about that. So she calls Stacy. Listen, I want to clear the air. We want to know what's going on with us or what have you. They agree. Yes, they need to clear the air. They need to talk. Tia tells her, I'm going to be honest with you. I was upset with you, though. And Stacey said, we're going to figure it out. Tia's coming to the launch. Child, we are Ashley and Josh. Listen, I do not care. Ashley brought that man on TV to break up with him because he's not taking care of her, which is interesting because didn't she have words for Candace about her parents taking care of her or helping her out or what have you, but now you want a man to take care of you. You know, she says she's used to fancier, swankier dates, but they're at an arcade. To me, because it didn't also seem like a complete breakup, because even later on, she's not saying I broke up with him. So she brought him on TV, to embarrass him and let him know you don't have enough for me. Ashley, we moving on. In her confess, and so Giselle and Monique meet up. In her confessional, Monique says back in the day she thought Giselle was just miserable. But now she gonna try to move forward. So they get to the restaurant. Giselle starts out and says, "I don't know. Should I start out with drag me, Monique?" Monique said, "Check this out. I'm not there anymore. I'm healed." Now I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna wait until after we get to the end of the segment to say it. So she tells Giselle that she has grown and that this is the only area now that she needs to make peace with. Okay. So she says coming around is an opportunity for her to talk. Like, she felt like if Ashley's going to bring her around this group, it's the perfect opportunity for her along on her healing journey to heal what she is saying is the last piece of everything that was going on. She says she's been reflecting a lot, and she tells Giselle, doesn't mean you're off the hook. Giselle says, I get that, but what did you reflect on? She tells Giselle, look, you're always in relationships. And Giselle is kind of looking at her like, huh? And she said, no, you're in relationships. She said, the trainer thing. You kind of went off the rails with that, bring up the trainer thing. Monique said it was messy. Giselle said, yeah. Monique said, I was about protecting the image. And you wanted to, and I felt like you kind of attacked my situation. I'm going to come after yours when Giselle and Jamal had allegedly got back together. She said, but then I felt bad when I saw your daughter. I wonder, does Giselle feel bad hearing Monique talk about her kids and knowing that I talked about the paternity of her child? And that's something that I wanted to bring to TV. Does Giselle feel bad about that? Now, Giselle did say that conversation was much longer, but they cut out, and that Giselle took accountability and they cut out a lot of that. I would be wondering because like, the more I see Monique impress and talk, I kind of feel like I was giving you, like, oh yeah, she seems like she's grown, she's this. But the more I see her contradict herself, because the more Monique talks, the more she contradicts herself. To me, my opinion, okay? It kind of makes me wonder if Monique is telling the truth about that Giselle took accountability, but they cut it out. But then I think back to Dr. Wendy. Giselle and Monique had to sit down last season. I mean, Giselle and Wendy had to sit down last season. We thought it should have been longer. Wendy, and shout out to a friend of the podcast, my good sis Brooke. She tweeted about Giselle and Wendy's sit down. And Wendy retweeted and was like, no, the conversation was much longer. Production cut it out, which then to me is like, production, why do you keep cutting out the parts of Giselle taking accountability? Is it because one would think, oh, they're trying to protect Giselle. But then is it like, are they really trying to protect Giselle if they know the audience is going to call out the fact that it doesn't seem like Giselle is taking accountability? You know what I mean? Are they really trying to protect her or are they actually trying to do something else? We'll see. But anyway, Monique says that Giselle did take accountability. A lot of it was just cut out, right? So so Giselle says to Monique, look, I felt real life hate from your end more than I ever felt that came from my end. And I felt like that thing that happened at the barn, you was on some drama, some nonsense, and you wanted it to happen. I said, I believe she wanted it to happen too, but not to Candace. She really wanted to put her hands on Giselle, but she was not going to do that. Again, I'm going to always go back to this woman questioned the paternity of your child. You knew that, was wanting to bring it on TV, but you put your hands on Candace. And people keep saying Candace was at the conversation when they were plotting and bringing it up. And people always forget because Candace said it on live, but it also came out at the season 5 reunion. Monique and Candace had made up, but they weren't on the best terms. So when Candace tried to throw them off by saying that's not going to work, that baby looked just like him, she said she thought her saying that they wouldn't go forward with the plan. But she also didn't trust them. So she called Karen and was like, hey, can you please tell Monique this is what they're trying to do? This came out. She tried to warn her, but when Karen called Monique, she brought it up and said, oh, your girl Candace didn't tell you. Instead of saying, look, Candace called me. Y'all made up, but y'all are not on the best terms. She wanted me to give you a heads up and warn you. Karen did it on some messy-ish. And that got brought up at the season 5 reunion, but it was very quick. And I always said we should have got back to why people call Karen the grande dame and that she has a motherly instinct. But Karen purposely ran that back to Monique as if Candace was in on the plot. Oh, she must be in on the plot because she didn't tell you. And she didn't run it back like Candace was looking out for you. Candace really probably should have picked up the phone and called her herself, but she trusted Karen. Remember, Karen and Candace were close. Karen even spoke at Candace's renewal, said she thought of her like a second mom. So for Karen to run that back to Monique as if Candace had a part in it was messy. But anyway, we moving forward. Okay, we moving forward. But Monique was basically like, I didn't want it to happen. It was pressure. Pressure was building up. One person made it explode. Giselle says, I really wanted to. I didn't want the situation to happen again, and I couldn't figure out who was putting words in your ear, who was making you crazy. She said, so in my mind, I blamed it on your husband. So Monique did say, I'm not going to sit here and just blame it on Chris, but you know how it is being with a public figure. You have to protect the image. And then, as they were talking, Giselle said, I really wanted to come here and be like, F you, Monique. I ain't want nothing to do with you. Monique said she felt the same way, but they're both happy in the place they are. So Monique said, let's make an agreement, in the future, if we're going to talk, we need to talk. And then Monique says, no, Giselle says, if we're going to trash each other, Monique was basically like, let's make an agreement that we're not going to trash each other. Giselle's like, yeah, but let's agree that if we do trash each other, then we talk about it. So that lets her know. That lets you know right there. And it's probably still some trashing going on. Child, we get to this scene that was to me a replay, and I posted it on my Instagram. For those of y'all that watch Martin, remember the scene of Martin and Pam shopping for rings for Gina for him to propose at Martin's house. And Martin looked at the price and says, somebody left their social security number. And then when he realized the price, he was shocked. That was the scene with Greg, Kay, and Kay. I'm sorry, with Greg, Angel, and Kay's mom. To me, I feel like it was Angel was there because we got to keep up this facade that they was real tight for the last, I don't know how many years. I'm not saying they weren't friends for the last however many years, but I do feel like they had kind of fell off. But then when the show came, they picked back up, which is fine. But I feel like they're trying to make it like they've been tight this whole many years. When Angel was saying how excited she was to be ring shopping, I thought she was going to come back with and say, I remember when Kay met him. And maybe she has on the after show. Y'all let me know. But it just seemed like, okay, we're going to put her in this scene. Greg was looking at the rings. One was 160,000, 165. One was 180,000. He said he gonna run it by Kay first. Kay's mom said, "You ain't got to run it by Kay. I'm here. I'm her representative." And then it came out that Greg is trying to buy Kay's condo as a wedding gift. So I guess Kay gonna get engaged. Interesting. Remember last season when Wendy told Kay, "I talked to your mom about the engagement." So I guess because they're not as close. Maybe that's why Angel is there and not Wendy. Moving on, Ashley and her sister. Ashley's sister, I think, is going away to college. Ashley helps her out when she can because she remembers when her uncle had to help her out. Ashley brings up that girl's dad. Listen, and this is just to me, and I know some people may say, Taria, you're not even going to give Ashley a break. This was a heartfelt scene. I felt like it was Ashley is trying to have a personal story using somebody else's business, even if it's at the expense of her sister. You could tell it clearly still bothers her sister. And I guess her sister was okay with it, or her sister knows Ashley is helping me out. The way Ashley's making her money to be able to help me out is this show. So we're going to go ahead and talk about it on this show so Ashley can have a personal scene. That's just me. But the man that Sheila was living under the bridge with is Ashley's sister's dad. The sister put the foot down, like basically, I'm not going to see you no more until you get it together. They hope he gets it together. Moving on. Eddie and Wendy. Eddie has a pop-up. And so Wendy says she normally doesn't go, but he created a new strain called the Nutty Professor, named it after her. This is where we find out that Stacey did not invite Wendy to her pop-up. And I'm not sure if it's in this scene or in the scene later on that they did a flashback to remember when Wendy and Stacey was at lunch and Stacey said, but they show us that Stacey said due to them, paraphrasing, due to them both being in the cannabis line, she didn't feel it was appropriate for Wendy to be there. That is insane to me. As if Wendy's going to get ideas from your line. They already have one. So I'm cheering for Stacey, but this had me side eye her. You didn't invite Stacey, and we'll get into why later. So Wendy says in her confessional, I don't mind that she didn't invite me. She got everything she wants. She don't need me anymore. Okay. I also think Stacey is being strategic. She's not dumb. She knows that the group and people are going to talk about Wendy not being invited. Therefore, that keeps Stacey the topic of conversation. So although Stacey says she's tired of them coming for her, Stacey knows she's gonna get another season out of this because they're talking about who? Stacey. Stacey is on everybody's lips. Stacey is no dummy. She knows exactly what she's being strategic. So Wendy did purchase, and we jumped back and forth, and I'm just gonna get to the gist of Wendy and Eddie's scene. They added some things to the menu, the strain of Nutty Professor. Wendy bought it. It was $75. She put her card in, but she had to use her PIN. She didn't remember her PIN because she always uses credit. She figured it out. Every money scene is probably going to have every money scene. Every time Wendy steps out looking fly, talking about anything, we already know people are going to be looking like. But maybe one of y'all commented on it and I missed it. But again, I go back to they didn't get the whole 400 and some $1,000 anyway. They only got the 25,000 for the ring, right? So anyway, we still gonna think about the prosecution said what they have 40 credit and debit cards. Child, if it wasn't one of them, is that why she don't use credit? Okay, moving on. We're at Stacey's event. AJ and Stacey arrived. She's really excited. She said this was something she prayed for. A cannabis line or just a business in general? Okay. They had a cute little setup. Stacey looks cute. So they have two flavors. Did she say flavors? They have rise and rest. So Jassy arrives first. Her and Stacey are kind of both in their denim dresses. Tia arrives, congratulates her, and hugs her. In her confessional, Tia said, look, I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm going to be the bigger person and celebrate her. We'll figure out our differences later. So Stacey let Jazzy and Tia know that Ashley would be there. Tia says, is Wendy coming? And this is when I said earlier, I'm cheering for Stacey, but I side-eyed her. Because Tia says, is Wendy coming? Stacey says, oh, Wendy couldn't be here, but she was very celebratory and congratulated me. Wendy has been very supportive. She didn't lie and say, Wendy declined my invitation. She also wasn't truthful in saying, I didn't invite her. What she said was Wendy couldn't be here. Well, why couldn't she be there, Stacey? Because you didn't invite her. So when you say, oh, Wendy couldn't be here, but she was congratulatory and celebrated me, if somebody said to me, Taria, you didn't invite Susan, one of my, supposedly in my friend circle, you didn't invite Susan to your podcast launch party. And I said, oh, she couldn't be here, but she was very congratulatory of me. She celebrated me. You would then think, oh, Susan just couldn't make it. Something came up, but she celebrated her. But I didn't invite Susan. That would have put a whole different spin on it, and it would have made it look a little bit more nefarious for her not inviting Wendy. So that's where I looked at Stacey like, girl, just be honest and say, I didn't invite her. I didn't want it to be a conflict of interest. Stacey knows exactly what she's doing. Anyway, so she said, Angel's going to be here. Didn't catch the reason why. Giselle can't make it. In her confessional, Giselle said, I was invited. I told her, thank you, but no thank you. Kay was not invited either. I didn't even put Kay in my notes. No, I'm sorry, I did. Kay said thank you, but no thank you. Giselle said she told her she didn't want to go. Anyway, Tia asked, oh, where's Timo? Stacey said he's traveling as always. So Ashley comes, tells Stacey how beautiful she looks, and said, oh, I wore that dress last week. In her confessional, Ashley says, girl, if you want to be me, just say that. Girl, no. We are not even going to get into the ridiculous of that. Girl, don't nobody want to be you. You're just trying to come out of looking like Joyce Leslie in the dead shop and the merry-go-round. Stop it. Anyway, Ashley tells Stacey, I'm happy to be here. One thing about us, we may go back and forth in this group, but we're happy to support each other. Stacey says, well, since we're talking about that, let me pull you to the side so we can talk. I'm going to ask you, how can we move forward? Because I feel like you concentrate on anything that you perceive negative about me. So Ashley said, well, there's always instances, we may move forward, then there's always more instances that come up that make me see you in a different light. Y'all, Ashley just gets on my nerves. I'm trying. Okay. Stacy said, everything that you bring, I've proven to be false, even the thing with Monique. I said, well, here's where we have to stop. Nothing was proven with the TJ of it all. I've said this before. Do we all probably believe she paid TJ? Yes. TJ hasn't proven that. We have to take the word of what Ashley and Giselle say, that they saw court paperwork on somebody's phone. Giselle is not a reliable narrator, nor is Ashley. So that hasn't been proven. The only thing that's really been proven is Giselle saying, I heard you're trying to start a cannabis line, and Stacey saying no. Oh, and then her lying to Tia. Instead of saying, I'm not comfortable with bringing Timo around, she says he's flying out. And then we find out later he had flew in. So there's that. Ashley says Monique is choosing to let it go, and so am I. Stacey said Wendy is also choosing to let it go. And that's what I liked because they're harping on her about the weed line. Stacey's moving on. So Stacey says she doesn't have a problem with me doing this. So as they're talking, they're getting kind of loud. AJ walks over to Tia and Jazzy and said, what is going on over there? Like, they're getting kind of loud. What's happening? So Ashley says, I have no qualms about your business, everything you got going on, but I don't want you to be a lying a-ho. I find it funny. Ashley was not talking like this seasons ago, and neither was Giselle, calling them hoes and this and that. Who talked like that? I'm gonna leave it alone for now. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it alone. So, Stacey, girl, I'm looking at my notes. Even to my in my own notes, I said, "Who talked about that?" But I'm gonna leave it alone. So Stacey said, "Look, can you acknowledge that? Like I've disproven everything to you." And she said, I woman to woman, I'm asking you, can we stop?" Ashley said, "You need to, you need to stop the going back and forth. I need you to stop. I need you to stop." So Stacey says, "Are you going to stop talking and allow us to start at ground zero?" Ashley is like, "Are you going to stop lying?" So one is like, "Are you going to stop lying?" And the other one is like, "Are you going to stop coming for me?" So they just kind of do a whole back and forth type thing. Sorry, I'm gonna turn my computer over this way. I didn't realize my oh, my bed, the bedroom area. So, anyway, it's not facing, but there's other people in here. So walking by, what have you. So anyway, they're going back and forth, back and forth. And Ashley says they both agree. No more lies, as Stacey saying, no more negativity. Back and forth. So in her confessional, Ashley says, I always leave room to move forward in relationships. And that speaks a lot to who she is. Stacey offers the ladies refreshments, and Stacey said, "Look, I want you to know where I'm coming from." I'm sorry, Ashley says to Stacey, "Look, I want you to know where I'm coming from. In the last 10 years I've been in this group, I've been as authentic as I possibly can. My feet have been held to the fire, and that's how we conduct ourselves, and that's how we get closer as friends." Stacey said, "I'm learning, but I'm hoping there's a way that we can understand each other." Then she turns, I'm sorry, y'all keep seeing me move the camera, but so I don't have to shout. I'm moving it all. Okay. You know what? I don't want to make y'all seasick. So I was trying not to be. I was trying to figure out a way to move it that showed, and I'm just showing more. Okay. Hold on, y'all. Technical difficulties. All right, y'all. Anyway. So Ashley is like, this is how I've been in this group for 10 years. We need to be authentic. That's how we move forward, and that's how we get closer as friends. Stacey says, "I'm learning. I want there to be a way for us to understand each other." And then she turns to Tia and says, "And this is where we have an issue." And they want to get to the bottom of it. So Stacey says, "I met you in the morning, invited you. I'm sorry, you invited Timo and me to dinner. He said, 'No, thank you. I'm traveling.' The flashback shows them at the pool with Arabella, how Stacey says her name. He says, 'I'm flying out tomorrow.'" And then Stacey brought up how, "I trusted you. I introduced you to him before I even introduced him to Wendy. And that's because I thought you were neutral. But then Wendy calls me and says, 'Why aren't you here?'" See, I see Stacey's trying to pinpoint certain things that she can hang on to. without acknowledging that she did lie. There were well, two different stories were told about Timo in that particular day of the dinner. So Stacy says, but then Wendy called me. She said, why aren't you here? And I said, I never agreed to be there. Timo is traveling. So you see how Stacy told the story back? I saw you there that morning, Tia. You invited us. Timo says, I'm traveling. And then Wendy called me and asked me about the dinner, why I wasn't there. And I said, Timo's traveling. That is not quite how it went. But anyway, Stacy says, and then Tia, you were in the background saying she's full of it. Tia said, no, you said Timo just flew back. That's when I said you were full of it. They showed the flashback. Tia is vindicated. Tia said, you tell your story. Go ahead, tell your story. Stacy said, I'm going to tell the truth. And if I decline dinner with you, I decline. Yes, but decline it. Just say no, thank you. But you don't have to lie, Stacy. Come on, I like Stacy, but come on. She knew what she was on, but she lied in that moment. She said the issue is my comfort level with Wendy and Eddie, and that is none of your business. Timo has only seen a glimpse of Wendy and Eddie, and that was them at the reunion. And when it came out that Eddie found out that TJ told Eddie, Stacy paid me, and the ladies were like, bring Eddie out, bring Eddie out. I hadn't even considered that was an issue for Stacy with Wendy and Eddie, but I did see some conversation online, people saying they felt like Stacy did have an issue with that. Had y'all considered that? I hadn't even considered that. The way Stacy and Wendy Wendy has the ability with Stacy to kind of like, girl, you lying, but I love you. And we're going to move forward because I like you. That's how I looked at them. I never even considered Stacy might have an issue with Wendy. Never. But it's coming out now. She said, Tia, in your attempt to get in the group, you're trying to play catch up. In other words, what you've seen on TV. She said, but you kind of overstep. Tia says, listen, I'm going to tell you why I'm upset. When I came into this group, I heard things that were alleged against you. And I gave you the benefit of the doubt. All right? I gave you the benefit of the doubt. The ladies were saying you were a lying a-ho. And I gave you the benefit of the doubt. Tia said, you were calling me, telling me I needed to have your back with these ladies. Stacy said, I never said that. Tia said, yes, you did. I believe Tia. Who y'all believe? Because I believe Tia. They started going back and forth. Stacy wanted her to tell the truth. Tia said, I am telling the truth. And if you would shut up for a second, because Stacy kept interjecting, Stacy said, don't you tell me to shut up. This is the real her. She plays prim and proper. Tia said, I don't have to play prim and proper. I extend my manners. And she said, and so Stacy's like, you just want to fit in so bad. Tia said, you're the person that's been in this group for a year and you still on the outs, baby. The lady still ain't effing with you like that. So what about you, my love? So Jassy says, you can't go swearing at her event. That's not Juneteenth vibes. Jassy is funny. I think she's funny. Stacy said, you're a try-hard just like your fashion. I said, no, what? How did? Tia's dress was like, now, why am I in it? See, I was just sitting here on this beautiful body and ain't even did nothing, ain't even said nothing. So after she told her she was a try-hard like her fashion, she said, get your out of my event. Now, the way she said it, it was a little bit of the real Stacy. Like that newscaster voice dropped a little bit. When she said, get your, and she made get your one word. You know how we say, if you don't get your, I said, there she go. There she go. That's Stacy. So she told her to get out of her event. She said, you want to act like a lady, take your things and be gone. What she say, toodaloo or something like that? Tia said, I have other things I could do today. So I'm out of here. As Tia's walking out, I did think this is funny. As Tia's walking out, Tia says, I won't be buying anything from Stacy because she's trash, but you're great. Bye-bye. So then Stacy turns to the ladies and says, do you want any fruit or refreshments? This episode was okay. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It was in the middle, and I'm okay with Potomac. I'm okay with some middle episodes. It's not dark. I have to keep going back to it's not dark. It's like cotton candy. It feels good. I got some laughs, and there we have it. What do y'all think about the Stacey and Tia of it all? I do see people saying that they feel like Tia has become like picking up the steam from Giselle to go after Stacey. Or do y'all feel like Tia has a legitimate reason to be angry with Stacey? The Ashley of it all, I do feel like Ashley is being a minion, carrying out the work. But with Tia, I do feel like she has a legitimate reason. Also, is it that serious? Because Wendy has legitimate reasons too, but Wendy's playing it like it ain't really that serious. Girl, I like you, but don't do it. Don't do it. Like, girl, stop. So what do y'all think about the Stacey and Tia of it all? What do y'all think about the Giselle and Monique of it all? This is what I said I was going to bring up after Giselle and Monique's scene that I didn't. When Monique says in that scene, and I'm sorry, I should have brought it up then, but she said this was her last piece. Monique said in an interview, well, on Watch What Happens Live, hope I'm not getting them mixed up, but I believe on Watch What Happens Live, she said there was no relationship with Candace, meaning not now, we know that now, but there was no relationship before with Candace. Because people were bringing up her making up with Giselle, but you can't make up with Candace. She says there was no relationship. Somewhere else, she says there was a relationship. And that's why, when there was a person that interviewed her, which I'm so glad, and said basically you can make up with Giselle, but not Candace, like asked her spot on. She says there was a relationship with Candace, and that's why it hurt so much, right? Only for her to go somewhere else and say there was no relationship. And that's my thing with Monique. If you let her talk long enough, who she is comes out. That's with a lot of people, though, right? To say that Giselle was the missing piece for me does not ring as if she's healed and she's whole. And to me, it seems like I've said since Monique got on the show that she wanted to be cool with Giselle. And I stand by that. And now it's easier for her to do so and say, this is the last part on my healing journey. To discount actually apologizing to Candace. Nobody says y'all got to have a relationship, but you've apologized to everyone but the person you put your hands on to her face. When Monique has said over and over and over again since the fight that Candace didn't deserve it. Monique said that out of her own mouth. So if we're believing and trusting what Monique said and that she's healed, Monique said Candace didn't deserve it, but you don't feel like you owe her an apology to her face. Giselle is the missing piece. The one that, I'm going to keep it real and be honest, if you was going to snatch and drag anybody, it should have been her. You don't think you owe an apology to Candace? And that's why I think that's what stops me from moving forward with Monique. And not that I'm on the show to move forward, but that's what stops me from like believing. I really want to believe that she is this person. And you know what? We're all layered. So this may be a version of her, right? But I just feel like now you doing all these interviews and saying all this stuff, I'm just looking at you kind of like, I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Did y'all see the interviews that Monique did and the contradictory statements? What do y'all think? Or do y'all think, like I said, two things can be true and a person can be two things. They can be this and they can be this, which do seem opposite. Y'all let me know what y'all think about the episode. I love y'all so much. I'm getting back on track. I promise I'm using this week of vacation to have fun. I can't even believe I'm on vacation. Because I'm always about work, but I'm trying to create, I'm not even going to say a balance, a life that works for me and I fulfilled in all areas. That's what I'm really striving to do. And that's what I hope that we're all striving to do, right? And even if one says balance looks different for everybody. So don't let what somebody else defines as balance be your definition. It's whatever is balanced to you. It makes you feel good. So I'm on vacation. So anyway, I will be back with Married to Medicine. I love y'all so much, and I will talk to you later. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. For every person that's new here, thank you. I appreciate you. For every person that's been here from the beginning and in the middle, I truly love y'all. I'll talk to y'all later. See ya. Y'all ain't gonna lie. Don't come at me in the comments about it, but I'm gonna be telling the truth because we are a community. I feel like this Red Bull really gave me wings and I'm about to fly off. Not off the earth and onto glory, but I'm about to fly off at any moment. Love y'all. See ya.